The grand theater of geopolitics, a Machiavellian and Dantesque satire. For centuries, the stage of geopolitics has hosted the world's longest-running tragicomedy, a parade of fabricated enmities where leaders, like over-the-top actors in an absurd opera, shout, scheme, and gesture wildly for the benefit of the audience. Beneath the bluster, however, these supposed rivals share handshakes backstage, ensuring their pockets stay lined and the public stays none the wiser. Drawing on Machiavelli's cynical pragmatism and Dante's poetic vision of fraud and betrayal, let us peel back the curtain on the farce we call global politics. Spoiler alert, the joke's on us. The United States, Russia, and China, best frenemies forever. At the highest levels, the US, Russia, and China are more like poker buddies than mortal enemies. Sure, they engage in the occasional public spat, sanctions here, military drills there, but the rivalry is as real as pro wrestling. Why? Because conflict sells, and in the geopolitical marketplace, there's no better business model than war. You see, weapons don't move themselves, and fighter jets don't fly off the shelves just because the Pentagon thinks they're cool. Every tank, missile, and drone needs a villain to justify its purchase, and nothing motivates voters quite like a manufactured boogeyman. When leaders speak gravely of defending freedom or resisting authoritarianism, they're really saying, it's arms deal season, baby. Meanwhile, the Ukraine war plays on like a grim slapstick. Ukrainian soldiers perish by the thousands, and while the headlines paint it as a noble fight for democracy, the cash registers of big oil, Putin's inner circle, and Lockheed Martin are singing in harmony. Imagine Putin, Biden, and she sitting around a table after the cameras are off, sipping vodka and discussing who'll play the villain next quarter. We'll sanction you, you invade them, and we'll meet in Davos for brunch. They agree, toasting to another successful quarter of mutually beneficial hostility. It's international relations, but with a laugh track. Israel, Iran, and Turkey. Reality TV diplomacy. On the regional stage, the comedy becomes even more farcical. Consider the supposed hostility among Israel, Iran, and Turkey. A geopolitical soap opera with plot twists so predictable even a daytime TV writer would cringe. Erdogan shouts anti-Israel slogans with the passion of an overpaid actor at a matinee, while, quietly, oil flows from Azerbaijan through Turkish pipelines to Israel. Somewhere in Ankara, Erdogan counts his oil revenues, perhaps chuckling at the irony as he practices his next outrage speech for the cameras. I'll yell louder this time, he muses. The audience loves it. The situation in Syria adds another layer of absurdity. Russian S-400 missile systems are stationed there, supposedly to protect Syrian airspace. And yet, Israeli jets buzz through the skies like uninvited guests at a party, bombing at will. Funny how those state-of-the-art Russian missiles suddenly develop stage fright when it's time to intercept Israeli planes. Perhaps Putin gave the S-400s the night off, or maybe, just maybe, this so-called conflict is more of a waltz than a war. In the end, Israel remains unscathed, and Russia maintains its friendly neighborhood superpower status. Everyone gets what they want, except the poor Syrians, left to play the part of collateral damage. The infernal theater. Dante would be proud. If Dante were alive today, he'd need to add a few extra circles to his inferno just to accommodate these geopolitical actors. In the modern-day hellscape, the architects of war and deceit would twirl in a never-ending dance, draped in costumes of righteous indignation, while beneath their robes lie bank accounts fattened by the blood and toil of the common people. Like the hypocrites of Dante's Eighth Circle, they shine in public while concealing the heavy burden of their corruption. Here, the military-industrial tycoons would be condemned to eternal board meetings, endlessly pitching wars that will never end. Political leaders, meanwhile, would rehearse their speeches forever, each one a performance to justify the latest betrayal. Oil executives would swim in rivers of crude, their hands too slick with profit to grasp at moral responsibility. The public? We would sit in the bleachers, cheering and booing on cue, unaware that we're part of the farce too. Conclusion: a masquerade without an intermission. And so, the grand masquerade of geopolitics continues, each new conflict the latest in an endless series of acts. Leaders will come and go, costumes will change, but the script will remain the same. There will always be a new villain to demonize, a new ally to betray, and a new war to fight, just as long as the profits keep rolling in. The tragedy of it all is not just that the world is run by liars, but that the audience keeps buying tickets. We tune into the news, clutching our popcorn, believing we are watching history unfold, when in fact we are witnessing the same old farce, performed by the same old players, all for the same old reasons: power, profit, and control. Until the public sees through the illusion, the show will go on, with fresh wars, fresh enemies, and fresh corpses to fill the stage. In the end, the only question left is, how much longer will we applaud?